Antarctica is the coldest, the windiest, the harshest, the driest, one of the largest continents on the planet. It's 4 times the size of India. I was climbing the highest peak in Antarctica in 2005, and it was hard. It was the worst weather in mountaineering history. And as I was on the face of a 16,000-foot drop, my goggles froze over. And worried, I took my goggles off my face, took my hand out of my glove to scrape the ice from the inside of my goggles so I could see. But my hand froze, and my goggles wouldn't clear. And I realized at that point, with the drop below me, that if I fell, the terminal velocity would be reached in 10 seconds, the clothes would be ripped from my body, and I would die. And I wondered, what the hell am I doing here? An advertising executive who's lived in many countries of the world, based in New York, with 4 children, beautiful partner. And I was wondering, why am I doing this? Climbing that summit, as I climbed with an explorer, my guide had actually stopped and given up. My base camp team had poisoned themselves because the weather had closed in and they'd stayed with the heat in their room to try and keep warm, and it had gassed them. My team at the top were stuck in a 100-mile-an-hour wind. And as I got to the top, I cried. And I wondered why I was doing this. And this self-belief, I think, is the main fueling factor. When I'm not trying to kill myself, but when I was walking down that mountain, I smiled and I loved everybody. And it took me to a whole new level. I live in New York. And there I run a global creative agency called Sidley. I've worked with many global creative shops around the world. And my job is to add the confidence to the brilliant creatives in the world. It's not about me. It's about showing I have self-belief to give others self-belief. So in my job, I work with thousands of creatives. The creative industry determines every product or service you buy. It's over $1 trillion. But the people that lead it, the people that really make the difference, are introverted and terrified because they're extroverted and brilliant through the skills that they possess. And it's a good thing. My job is to allow the confidence to that person to say, you can do it. And I'm going to take you to the top of this mountain, and it's going to be painful. But the rewards are going to be great. You're going to feel awesome. You're going to be living. And I explain to them, you do not need to be gregarious. You don't have to wear a shiny suit. You don't need to be loud. Because your extroverted nature is what makes you brilliant, and be proud of that. Because many creatives try and be business people and be the suits. But you've got to remember you don't need to be that. Be yourself and be creative and find a partner that you can work with to allow you to be better. You don't have to climb a mountain like I'm climbing, but you have to get and work with people that fuel your soul so that you can be you, so you can drive it. And that creative industry, for me, really fuels all this. But I went through a phase where I lost my confidence. I lost my self-belief. And it's the most terrifying thing you'll ever experience. We've all been there. And the worrying factor is you think, I was given one card, one trick in life. And I've used it. And I don't know where to go. I don't know where the road will lead. And that's scary, because what it does is it breaks down that inner confidence. So you have to find your route. And I was running a global agency. There was a business structure I didn't believe in. And it made me worry about the creative industry itself, because creative businesses are often run like every other business. It's run by a person who is trained within parameters. accounting. You're set to equations and formula, technology. You're set to laws and physics. Legal services. You're set to rules and guidelines. But that's not the creative industry. Creativity should be free form, that if you hit a wall, you have a tangent and you go elsewhere. And it's good to explore. And I was worried that I was in a creative industry and I was hitting a point of lack of self-belief. So then I worried, what were all these other people in other industries doing? How terrifying was it that they won't be as creative? In 2010, IBM did a report, and they assessed the importance of creativity. And they said it was the number one factor to determine the successes of businesses. And I worry that we're in a creativity crisis. Because since we were cavemen, if you go back in time, you get up in the morning, you put on your mammoth sari, go out of your cave, and then you'd hope all day you weren't going to be killed by a toothed bird or a poison-spitting lizard, and you'd have to survive and fight. And up until the last 40 years, most of the generations have had to fight their self-belief and break through barriers. Yet creativity has become a commodity. And now creativity is the norm, and it's not as challenging. And I worry, if we'd have got creativity as a more prevalent, most important point of our lives, would we have avoided an economic crisis, a social crisis, a global crisis? Because we would have been thinking creatively, how can we get out of this and think differently? And I panicked, and I left the industry, and I thought the only thing I can do is determine what real fear is. And so I went tracking lion on foot in Africa. I realized that it's not the fear of somebody that doubts you, that somebody looks down on you, that somebody stops your progression. Real fear is facing 500 pounds of teeth and claws that can kill you in 20 seconds. That's when you know when you're really scared. And realizing I was just a small element on this planet. So if I could take that perspective back into my life, when the next naysayer doubted me, I would say, you don't scare me. That scares me. You cannot stop me. At 18 years of age, I was unfortunate enough for my mother to die. And my father had died when I was 6 months old. And I'd relied on my mother's strength. And I went away to a very good boarding school. I had a great education. And just before my final exams, my mother passed away, and I got my exam results, and I sat down in the car with my now stepfather and opened the envelope and discovered I'd failed everything. I failed all my exams. And my stepfather, was a headmaster, and I knew his pride was crushed. And he breathed slowly. He said, "Son, there is a wall in front of us, and you know for the rest of your life, you will face walls all the time. But you will always remember this. There is always a way over it, there is always a way round it, and there is always a way over it. And we will get past this wall, and you will succeed." But it gave me the feeling of self-confidence again, that I wasn't a failure. And when I walked into green school, something struck me. There was no walls to restrict all those children in their thinking. There was no issue of something that they had to get over, round, or under, because it was breathing life into their perspectives. And that changed my life in the last year, because it let me think, this is what we have to do. This is what we have to encourage ourselves, that me, as a creative motivator, for my teams to come up with brilliant ideas, I have to take the walls away or show them ways over. That while I'm climbing on those mountains, when I'm pushing parameters and pushing my body to the furthest point, it's because I need to believe, and I need to get that confidence back. And you have to believe. That is the crucial nature of creativity. And that is the crucial nature of success together. Be in a community like INK that is driving people from different worlds, different careers, different lives together to have self-belief. You're all here to be fueled. You're all here to have the confidence. You have to realize that you have to have two sides to your life, because we're all going to die, but not all of us live. Live your life and spend time with the people that are going to help you live your life. Thank you.